Halloween Ends. Hopefully. So Halloween Ends is the third chapter in the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy and is the epic conclusion to the Halloween franchise that sees the final confrontation between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers once and for all. I'm sorry, what? It's not about that? Oh, only last 10 minutes? What? Oh, the movie's about some kid named Corey who we've never met before? Why would they do that? Yes, that's right. These writers decided to take Halloween Ends, the final chapter in the Halloween franchise, supposedly. I mean, we're probably going to get another one, and make it about some kid who we've never met before named Corey. That is a massive swing. That is a massive risk. And there are people out there that appreciated that risk. I'm not one of them. Because while the idea is somewhat interesting on paper, it wasn't executed very well, which we'll get to that. Somewhat interesting on paper, it is absolutely the wrong direction to take this specific movie that was supposed to be Michael Myers versus Laurie Strode. It was clearly marketed as that. They continuously harped on that in the marketing, made it seem like that was the only thing the movie was about. This movie is literally a bait and switch because that only happens, again, in the last 10 minutes. I kid you not when I say an hour and a half of this movie is basically a rom-com drama between Corey and Allison, which, by the way, they completely shit on Allison's character in this movie as well, because she is no longer the independent, smart badass that she was in the first two movies, makes horrible decisions throughout this entire movie, and there was absolutely no stakes, no tension, no scares, no thrills, no kills, nothing that you want out of a Halloween movie in the first hour and a half of that movie. So not only is this the wrong idea to take this franchise, they don't even do anything interesting with it. This arc, there isn't even really a character arc, but by the time this whole thing that they were doing is over, it doesn't go anywhere. They didn't do anything interesting with it, and it falls completely flat, and it feels like that entire section of the movie, which is like 95% of the movie, was a complete waste of time. And then once we finally do get to the Michael versus Laurie stuff, which I guess is kind of cool, there is some cool stuff in there, but none of it is remotely satisfying because Michael is barely in this movie. I don't really have a ton to say about this movie spoiler-free. Once we get into my spoiler section, I'll have a lot more specific things to say, but this was awful. They went in a weird, strange, unpredictable direction, and it wasn't even interesting and didn't even go anywhere interesting. But they didn't kill, so they didn't do anything with that. They didn't touch on Michael's invulnerability or is he human. So now it feels like Kills was kind of a waste of time because it set up a movie that didn't even happen. I think this movie proves that they clearly didn't have a plan for these three movies when they started doing them. I honestly am not even sure if they were going to do these extra two after 2018. It kind of seems like 2018 could have been the ending, and honestly, it should have been. But they saw how successful it was and how much people liked it, so they decided, oh, okay, so now we're going to make two more to make money, and they had no idea where to go with it. I think that is very clear in this movie. They had about maybe two movies worth of plot, but that's even pushing it. I'd say a movie or a movie and a half worth of plot, and they stretched it out to three movies, so they had to find a way to fill an hour and a half of this movie, so they took a completely new direction and then basically completely abandoned what they were even trying to say with that, which I'm not even sure what it is, because I don't understand what the messaging of this movie in regards to that particular storyline is. So this was a very confusing movie for me as far as why would they do this? Why would they pick this direction to take this final movie of the franchise? I was getting restless in the theater. I was like, I can't believe what I'm watching. Did I really get into the wrong movie? Like, this can't be the final Halloween movie. I was baffled at how bad this was, at how boring it was, at the fact that this is what they decided to do with the final Halloween movie. I couldn't believe it. I have so many horrible things to say about this movie in the spoiler section, but for now, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It is honestly my least favorite movie of the year. It's worse than Morbius. I can't recommend it. Honestly, again, there are some people that like the big swing that they took. I don't really understand why, because it wasn't followed through on in a interesting way at all. But some people appreciated it went in a different direction. I did not. I thought it was a horrible direction to take this movie and fell flat anyway, which made for a ridiculously infuriating and unsatisfying experience. So now I'm going to move on to my spoiler-filled section. If you plan on seeing this movie still, despite everything I've said, don't watch this part. Watch the movie. Come back and watch it. If you've seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, let's get right into it. So, the opening scene of this movie had, I guess it's technically not the opening scene. I guess the opening scene is like Laurie's kind of recap of what happened with all the Michael Myers events so far. And I thought that was kind of cool. And there were some interesting ideas in there about like what Michael does to the city of Haddonfield, makes people go crazy and blame each other and stuff. Like there was some interesting stuff there, but they didn't go anywhere interesting with it. So it's like another thing that they kind of abandoned. Then they get to this Corey character, which this scene with him and the kid was actually quite good on its own. Again, don't know why they chose to go this way for this movie, but on its own. He's babysitting his kid, and the kid's a prick, honestly. The kid's a prick. And basically he traps Corey in the room up like the attic or whatever, and Corey's scared. I mean, Michael Myers could be in that room. It's dark, you can't see anything. I understand why he was scared like he was. So he kicks the door open and knocks the kid. He falls down 3 levels and dies right as his parents are coming in after they took their night out. That was horrifying. And I was like, whoa, that's what they're doing with this movie? This could have potentially been something interesting if it were a different movie. Not the right way to go with this movie. Again, it feels like they did this because they didn't know what else to do with the Michael stuff and had to take up an hour and a half of runtime. So after this happens, we kind of follow Corey as the main character for a while. And we start to feel sympathetic for him. So I'm like, okay, I don't like that they're doing this, but I kind of understand what they're trying to do. And then it gets really weird because at first it seems like they're making him out to be the victim, like we're supposed to feel bad for him. And then maybe he'll have a redemptive arc because he falls in love with Allison and she kind of fixes him and makes him a better person or whatever. Like, okay, that, again, weird direction to take this specific movie, but I kind of understand what they're going for. And then they just make him completely evil and make him Michael Myers' basically sidekick or protege, which again is a strange thing to do in and of itself. I don't think Michael Myers would ever take on like an apprentice or anything. I don't understand that at all. Now I'm trying to figure out what exactly happened in that scene. I'm trying to interpret this when he's in a tunnel and Michael Myers is there, which, by the way, that alone, why is Michael Myers in this tunnel? Why has he been in there for 4 years? I don't understand. They didn't explain that at all. How has he been eating? Why does he still have the mask? It's just very, very strange. Everything they did with Michael was strange in this movie, and I will touch on that a bit more after I talk about this specific scene that I was about to mention. So, when Corey's in a tunnel and sees Michael Myers, and Michael, like, is about to kill him, is choking him, and then somehow, I guess we see these flashes of, like, all the stuff that Corey's been through and, like, the evils that he has committed. And is that, so can someone tell me what that was? How did you interpret this scene? Was that Michael, like, somehow using his magical powers, which, again, they didn't even establish whether he is supernatural or human, didn't even touch on that at all. It's still completely ambiguous, and they even contradict themselves within this own movie when it comes to that. So I don't understand any of that, and there's, again, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But did he use his powers to, like, see that all this stuff that Corey did and then, like, turn him completely evil? Is that what happened? Because I'm a little bit confused about what they're trying to say happened exactly to Corey. Because there's like the conversation in the bar where the kid who he killed, the kid's dad, is like, he's not the same guy. Not the same guy that used to mow our lawn and used to babysit our kid. I don't know if that was the guy that killed our kid or if he changed after that, but I looked in his eyes and he was completely someone else. So with that line, and there's also a line later in the movie that's like, evil didn't die, just changed shape. Are they trying to say that Michael turned this kid evil? Are they trying to say he was always evil? Are they trying to say he's the same type of evil as Michael Myers and evil is just evil? Because that's bullshit. Michael Myers is clearly a special type of evil. This kid definitely has more sympathy and human emotions in general that Michael has. So I'm confused as to exactly what they were trying to say there. And early in the movie, again, they were trying to make him seem like the victim. They completely do away with that when they just turn him completely evil, completely irredeemable, and he's just a new Michael Myers now. So whatever they were trying to do, whatever they were trying to say with his character before, any nuance to that went completely out the window once they decided to just completely make him evil. And then, like I touched on Allison being dumbed down in this movie in my spoiler-free section, she continues to be in love with this kid and hang out with him and date him, despite the fact that he is clearly a fucking psycho. I mean, this dude is off the rails, and she doesn't notice it when she's hanging out with him. Like, the Allison that we knew in the other two movies, as much as I have my problems with those, especially Kills, would have known something was up, and that was incredibly frustrating to me. That was a textbook example of horror movie characters being stupid. Now, to kind of touch on Laurie, I liked Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in this movie. I think it was great, but even the characterization of her was a bit inconsistent. They all of a sudden made her like super happy and like they're celebrating Halloween and stuff, and that I kind of like the idea of that, but that is a massive, massive jump from where we left off from Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills to that. So again, by itself, interesting idea, but it was strange to go there from the movies that were the prior two movies in this trilogy. And then she like gets like super like almost psycho towards Corey towards the end of the movie. Like she really changes on a dime, and I found that really strange. Again, performance was great. Characterization was a bit weird. Characterization of basically everyone in this entire movie was inconsistent and strange. The dialogue, don't even get me started on dialogue. The dialogue was awful. Dialogue, honestly, in this entire trilogy was not good, but it was especially bad in Kills and then possibly even worse here. Like, just such bad lines. Honestly, they probably should have gotten someone else to write lines for this movie. I don't know. Maybe did they film this back to back with the Kills? Maybe it's too late. But obviously, who's ever writing the dialogue, I know it had multiple writers on it. Maybe they all wrote some of it, but whoever wrote most of the dialogue for these movies should stick to something else. They shouldn't be writing dialogue for movies like this. Man, what a frustrating movie. Just to kind of go back to what I was talking to as far as the Michael Myers stuff, the way they end Kills to where they're basically telling us, but not telling us, that he is some kind of like superhuman, some kind of supernatural being. He can't be human after all the stuff that he went through in that movie. All the times he got shot, all the times he got stabbed, all the times he got beat up, and he just got right back up and started killing people. So the end of Kills clearly established that he is not a regular human. And even though I don't like that, I would have preferred that they would have just kept him as a normal human for this new trilogy. I was interested to see where they would go with that in this movie. And the answer is nowhere. Nowhere. I mean, he is an old, weak, decrepit man hiding in this tunnel. And literally, he gets like pushed over and takes like 20 seconds to get back up. This guy doesn't seem like he's supernatural at all. So what exactly is going on here? I mean, the Corey kid literally pushes him down and takes his mask. He's like, "You're just a man in a mask. I'm taking the masks now." What? So what exactly is Michael Myers? The movie even contradicts itself at times because it does seem like, I'm not, again, there's several different interpretations to what some of this stuff means, but it kind of seemed like Michael would get stronger when he killed someone, because when Michael killed a person in the tunnel with Corey, it kind of seemed like he was like shaking a little bit and like gaining power or something, or gaining strength. I don't know if that's what they were trying to say at all, because nothing in this movie regarding Michael Myers was clear at all. Or maybe they were saying that the mask like gives people powers, because the kid takes the mask and then gets shot multiple times, but he even still seemed like he was human. So I don't think they were saying that the mask gives him the powers. They don't even touch on any of that, don't discuss any of that at all. So we're left completely in the dark as to what Michael Myers exactly is. Oh, okay. So I felt like I had more to talk about in this movie, but I guess there's only a few specific things. It's very, very frustrating, very infuriating movie, honestly. Like I said, I was getting restless in the theater. So the final confrontation itself is about 10 minutes long, like I said. Michael gets a couple minutes of screen time before that when we see him in the tunnel, which, again, I don't understand what that was about. The final confrontation is okay. It's not nearly as good as the fight in the first Halloween, in the 2018 Halloween movie, not the very first one. Well, it's not as good as that either. But it lasts like a few minutes, and Laurie basically kicks Michael's ass. And that's another problem I have with this movie is, for the most part, they turned Michael into a bitch in this movie. Getting pushed over, getting his mask stolen, and then Laurie kicks his ass, pins him down, and stabs him a bunch of times, and like Allison comes in and saves her and slices her throat. That stuff I thought was pretty cool if they would have built up to it more. It would have felt earned if Michael was in more of the movie, if the movie was about Michael, but it wasn't. So I just felt so empty. Like, I didn't really, like, yeah, this is cool to look at, but it's not doing anything for me because Michael was buried in the movie. Same with the actual ending, to where they basically say, like, he's not dead enough. And actually, the idea of that, I love. I'm like, finally, horror protagonists are going to make sure this motherfucker's body is completely destroyed. I love the idea of that. And they do it, and they take him to this junkyard and basically grind up his body, and that's awesome. But, again, did not feel satisfying or earned whatsoever because Michael was barely in the movie, and it was not about him. The movie completely shifts from the Corey stuff, which, again, they wanted to make the movie about that. It seemed like they were making the movie about that, and then just decided not to. It's like, nah, never mind. I don't even want to actually follow through with that plot line, and we're just going to kill him off. So they have Michael kill him, and then it becomes Michael versus Laurie for the last 10 minutes. Takes a drastic shift into what they decided to do with most of this movie, which, again, was a horrible direction, to what we thought this movie was going to be based on the marketing. And that was not earned at all. The shift wasn't earned. None of this movie worked for me, honestly. Like, I can kind of appreciate the performances, I guess, were pretty good. Even the kid that played Corey, as much as I hate what they did with that character and the idea that he was the main character of this movie, his performance was very good. Andy Matichak was great. Jamie Lee Curtis was great. James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers was great again. Performances all around were quite good. And I guess the score was fine. It is pretty unmemorable compared to the first two in this trilogy and the first three in this timeline, if you include the first one. Definitely the worst score. Again, dialogue was awful. Visuals were fine, I guess. Kills, there's a couple interesting kills that we get towards the end, but they're not even Michael. They're Corey, who takes over as the new Michael once he pushes him over and takes his mask, which, again, was a massive insult. There's a couple cool kills there. I will say that the one with the DJ, or the radio host, where he, like, smashes his face in and then cuts his tongue off, and his tongue is on the record, and then the thing keeps hitting it. I got a good laugh out of that. I thought that was pretty funny. I also appreciated how early on in the movie they were watching The Thing when he was babysitting, because I love The Thing, and it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I will talk about that at some point this month. That will be a watch in my 31 horror movies. Just a couple things I appreciated, and otherwise, very ridiculous, very annoying, very frustrating, boring movie that did everything wrong for the final chapter in a Halloween franchise. Here you have it, guys. If you've seen it, what do you think? I mean, do you like the movie? Do you think I'm wrong? Defend this movie in the comments, please. Let me know why you like it. And please don't just say it's because they did something new and unexpected. Tell me why you think that new and unexpected direction was actually good. And let's have a conversation in the comments. But just didn't work for me. Idea was horrible for this movie, even though it was interesting on paper. Execution was awful. Michael was completely sidelined. They completely shit on his legacy. Didn't even remotely touch on what he is or who he is. So this movie just left me completely dissatisfied with this movie, and honestly this whole new trilogy now. It should have ended with 2018, which I had some issues with, but it was a solid movie, and it would have been a solid ending to the franchise. If the ending of this movie was the ending of 2018 or the ending of Kills, that would have made a lot more sense. But it was an ending to the wrong movie, because it wasn't about that. Because they decided to go this stupid other direction that I will never understand. and I will just be baffled about that for years to come. Anyway, I got some more videos coming. I'm going to probably drop a She-Hulk review at some point. I'm going to do my Halloween ranking of only the current timeline because I haven't seen enough of the other ones. I've only seen a few of the other ones, to be honest. I also, if you didn't notice, I have a new mic, fancy new mic. I'm not going to get a new camera. I have access to a camera that I can try out and see how it works, who belongs to someone else, and then if I like it, then maybe I can get my own at some point. I'm going to get a new intro song and a new intro like animation logo. So everything is, we're getting there. We're getting there. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, enjoy me ranting about why Halloween Ends was a disaster, even if you don't necessarily agree with me, drop a like. If you enjoy my content in general, subscribe to the notification bell to get notified when I post a video. If you agree or disagree with me, if anything to say about this, drop a comment. Let's have a conversation below. And I got some more stuff coming. I'll see you soon.